comment on these, Todd. I just realized under approval of the minutes, it said for September 18th, but I think that should have been the meeting prior to September 18th, and I don't know what date that was. Did anybody else have any comments?
Nope.
I had none.
Nope.
Well, then I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 18th, pending the update to the date in the approval of minutes section.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, up next we have public comment. Do we have anybody that has a comment in the audience? All right, so then we'll move on to the subdivision and land development plans. And up first we have Hillwood. So who's ever speaking for that one, if you could please come forward.
Josh, there's a mouse there if you want to
Perfect.
move it around to whatever page you want.
Yeah. I think this is the other plan, Todd.
Okay, well, I apologize. I was looking here at your email. Well, let me ask you this. Can you show what's on here? We have our comments from C.S. Davidson. Because really all you're doing is showing them the concept of the plan. Correct? Is there anything specific you want to show them that wouldn't be on here that's on the?
Well, this was the other development project, so I mean.
Kinsley's plan.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
sorry.
yeah, that's what I was-
Sorry. I'm with you now. I'm with you now.
You probably have them, maybe you have them both up there. I
Yep,
think.
no, no, it's over here in the other page. How's that? They say you're in the right church but the wrong pew.
Right,
Here we go. My
that looks
apologies.
familiar, thank you. Good evening, Josh Hoffman with Pannoni, here representing with Hillwood. We're the civil engineer, I'm the civil engineer for the project. We've been involved with this project for a few years now. Originally, we had submitted the land development plan a few years ago. There was actually a separate subdivision plan. So ultimately where we're at, I know we were here earlier this year, I think it was, to obtain a few waivers for the plan, which ultimately then were approved by the board. But just to give you a quick overview, this project is located along Elm Drive. It consists of two existing parcels. We're effectively doing a subdivision and consolidation as part of this plan. And our development tract ends up being about 61 and a half acres. Let me just flip to the next. Okay, so this is the existing conditions plan. We're effectively, we have a tract of land and a tract of land over here. We're consolidating and ultimately creating a development tract, kind of where I'm circling right now. Kind of follows there's a creek that bisects the properties currently. So this thing doesn't want to, there we go. This is the subdivision. So the subdivision creates our tract of land right in this location here. We have frontage along East Tolna and frontage along Elm Drive, and access to the site ultimately comes from 851, which is in this location right here, and comes back into our site. So subdivision plan creates the tract, and then as part of this plan is also the land development plan for what you see on the screen here. It's approximately 611,000 square foot warehouse distribution center. It's a double loaded building, meaning we have docks on both sides of the building. It's provided with an access off of Elm Drive, full movement access off of Elm Drive here as the primary access point into the site. Full circulation around the site and the building. We provide trailer storage on both sides of the building, along with this side, and then it's set up to be a multi-tenanted type situation where you'd have a tenant on this half of the building potentially, or this half of the building, and it's provided with adequate employee parking to satisfy the number of employees that are anticipated. So we've been working, like I said, we've been working on this project for a few years now. I think we really have made strides. We've received our NPDS permit for both the site and also the roadway improvements that we are proposing all along Elm Drive that go all the way out to 851. 851, there's also some intersection improvements that are currently being are done as part of an HOP with PennDOT. And I think we're very close to receiving that permit at this point. We made Transportation Resource Group, John Sites, they're working on the HOP work for this project. They've resubmitted it back to PennDOT, I think it was even earlier today, addressing their remaining comments, which were very, I'll say, administrative at this point. I think there was 1 or 2 stormwater comments, very minor. And I think we're very close to receiving technical adequacy on that permit. There's obviously some things that have to happen right away and all those types of things that need to happen before they officially issue the permit, but we're very close on the permit. We've also received our sewage planning approval for the project. And as of, let's see here, letter from CS Davidson dated December 10th, 2024 that we received earlier this week. I believe the comments that are remaining here primarily, we're talking administrative signatures, agreements, and things of that nature, along with receiving the PennDOT permit, which we acknowledge all of those comments. Developers agreement has been worked. I know that's been worked back and forth with the township now at this point. So the one thing that we have added to the plan since we were last before you, because we've done so much work on this project, we originally submitted as a preliminary plan. What we're asking for this evening is a recommendation to make this a combined preliminary/final plan at this point and waive a waiver of the preliminary plan, which is actually section 22-403. And really the purpose being, because we're so far along on our improvements and the design, typically we would receive a conditional preliminary plan approval and work through some of the permitting and outside agencies and things of that nature. Because of where we're at today, we've designed all of those improvements as part of the plan and the design. So that's the reason we're seeking the waiver of the separate preliminary plan, because of where we are in the process. So with that, I think I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
What are you guys, excuse me, what are you guys planning to do to try to minimize 18-wheeler tractor trailers coming around the back way on, say, Tolna, which is a pretty minor street? We're already seeing an increase of these tractor trailer trucks coming around that way because there's so many lights on Forest.
Understand. So a couple different concerns there. I think the way we're designing our driveway exiting the site, we have so much control. I guess we have more control of vehicles that leave the site than vehicles that come to the site. Jared, correct me if I'm wrong here. Ultimately, we're designing our driveway so vehicles that are leaving the site are basically channelized, kind of forced to make the left-hand turn because of the geometry. And naturally, they obviously want to get to the highway here in this case. And we are doing improvements to the 851 Elm Drive intersection as well, I will say. I think, obviously we're providing signage. I know signage doesn't, fix everything. We are doing what we can there. I don't think we have the ability, if a vehicle's coming, on East Tolna Road, to the site, I don't think there's anything that we can really, do in that sense. But I think we're improving the road. The intent is to have the traffic come out of our site and go to the left. And that's why we're improving the roadway. We're improving it to a township standard, but we also we don't want the road to be in excess, as far as the width, because we do not want trucks parking along the roadway either, which I know that's always a concern. I think we talked about that, a year or two ago at this point in the process. So I think that we've come to a design for that roadway to accommodate the truck traffic heading to Forest Avenue, and that's ultimately what we're intending to propose there.
Any comments from the staff, Jeff?
I
He's outlined everything in our last letter, which was
Yep.
December 10th.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything to add unless you have questions for me.
I had a question about your, the right-of-way, the 35 feet. Apparently, it's saying it's not going to be 35 feet. Is that correct?
So, and when you, specifically, you're talking along Elm Drive?
Well, yeah, I guess that would be Elm Drive or coming into your existing, or your building.
So when you say so Elm Drive has I think it's a 60-foot right-of-way. I can't, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's 60 feet wide, so obviously half the road is 30 feet on our side of the center line. I know there was a comment, when you mentioned 35, I'm thinking, are you thinking the width of the, coming into our site? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Not the right-of-way, but the width of the pavement itself?
When he's talking 35, it's the width of the driveway coming off Elm.
Okay.
And what they've done there is they've actually cross-hatched that, and he mentioned this earlier. They're actually set up so that they're having an additional right-of-way. Looks like Todd's gonna try to blow that up for you. The width of the width of the driveway is such that the tractor trailers can make that turn without crossing the center line of the driveway or the center line of the roadway, but it's not set up to allow for truck traffic to turn right out of the
Yes, sir.
access.
To the left.
So Jeff, you're in line with what they're going to do then? You're okay?
Yeah, we've worked through this for, as he said, years.
Okay.
Trying to get to a place where it makes the most sense. I understand the concerns that have been raised. I think we all shared those from the start, but we believe that we've set this up such that the easiest access for a truck to get in or out of this site is on the path that we're creating for them.
Okay.
There you can see the crosshatch there. So that
Yes.
the width of that driveway exceeds your ordinance standards, and we're allowing for that because we think it provides for safer conditions for those trucks to come into the site. On what would be the left if you're sitting in the driveway coming out on Elm.
Okay.
I mean, Jeff, this is my only question is whether you feel like, there's a lot of anxiety about the impact of this, obviously, and whether you feel like we have, I guess, minimized impact to the extent possible under our zoning ordinance and the saldo
Yeah.
in every event possible.
Yeah, I think we've done everything we possibly can to the extent of contacting PennDOT and having them be involved in this process, which they weren't from the very beginning. They are involved now. As he mentioned, they're in the final stages of approving the improvements to 851, which allow for a decel lane and some other advantages to try to hopefully not have a negative impact on 851. But let's be frank, trucks are going to come off 83 on 851 and ultimately come on to Elm Drive. Where the township's concerned is, certainly we don't want to create a problem on 851, but that we believe that PennDOT agrees with us that we've done everything we can there. And where we started to get concerned was Elm Inn, and we've done everything we can there.
Do we have to make a separate motion though then on the waiver for the preliminary? Okay.
Is that the only waiver we're voting on tonight?
Yes, we are, because they asked for the waivers and they got their relief a long time ago, almost a year, more than a year ago. And they're listed on the plan, and they've run those through the Board of Supervisors as we've asked them to. So we came to agreement on everything but for the improvements of 851 and Elm, and that's what we've been working out, or what they've been working out for the last year.
So this is shifting gears, but stormwater was a question. Is that approved now, or?
Yeah, it is. It is in the sense that we've approved it, and also the state has approved it. So
Okay.
there's two different approvals, and they have both been approved.
Okay.
Stormwater management facilities are on the site to minimize both rate and volume, and that has also been addressed down at 851 with improvements that are being done down there to widen the road.
All right.
All right, so we'll need a motion, is it on the waiver and then on the final, preliminary final? Okay. So, I'll make, a motion that we recommend to the Board of Supervisors approval of the waiver for the, preliminary, plan.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then up next we have the preliminary final land development and subdivision plan. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we recommend to the Board of Supervisors that, that is approved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Discussion before you vote.
Oh,
I
discussion.
would ask that you add conditions to that
Oh, yes.
related to our letter of December 10th. Would be the easiest way to summarize that.
Yep. Well,
Thank you.
I'll amend my motion to add that. You, second it?
I will second, yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. Yep. My vote recorded.
Who's the nay for the minutes?
Ben,
I live on Tolna. I'm gonna be out there photographing trucks.
Thank you very much.
All right, and then up next, we have Shrewsbury Industrial LLC.
Oh, all good to go?
Yep.
All right, okay.
Now we have the right plan.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I appreciate that, Todd. All right, well, good evening. My name's Adam Anderson. I'm with Site Design Concepts, and I'm representing the final land development plan for Shrewsbury Industrial LLC. So with me this evening is Mike Jeffers, owner's representative on this project. So this should look familiar for two reasons. One, we were here before for waivers, and this is actually very similar to the project that you just heard. The site is roughly 55 acres. It's located at 15101 Elm Drive, and I'm driving on this. There we go. Okay, so this is the 55-acre site here. We have East Forest Avenue and Elm Drive. Hillwood project is right across the street here, and there's an agreement between the two projects to I guess, pair with the improvements to Elm Drive. Because these uses need to front or connect to a collector road, and obviously Elm Drive is not a collector road as it stands right now. So this is, once we get through the existing additions here, we have a two-lot consolidation. It's a 1-acre lot and a 54-acre lot to give you the 55 acres. It's located in the interchange district for a warehouse distribution facility. And this is the proposed 550,000 square foot industrial building. Similar setup, we have loading docks on either side of the building with parking areas on each side. Also tractor trailers parking, I guess I'll say on the west and east end here. Go to the next sheet. So this is Elm Drive, and we have our two connection points here. Similar situation, we have tractor trailers coming into the site. So we had asked for that waiver of the maximum 35 foot, and we have gore striping to neck that down to the required amount. Connecting to public water, public sewer, stormwater management facilities, we have 6 above-ground basins, kind of scattered throughout the site. You can see them here, along the front here, and then subsurface infiltration beds. We do not have any additional waivers that were already approved by, or in addition to the waivers that were already approved by the board. We did receive a letter from your engineer dated December 13th of 24, and take no issues with those comments. We have our individual MPDS permit, our sewage facilities planning module, and as I mentioned, we're partnering for the improvements to Elm Drive, and we're tied to that PennDOT HOP. So if Planning Commission has any comments, I'm happy to answer anything.
Are you doing the same thing as the other development where you have the driveway kind of swooping towards Forest, 851?
Yeah, so,
It's kind of hard to see on there.
yeah, right. So I guess if you look here, so the Elm Drive, Elm Drive East Forest Avenue is right here. So we have it kind of angled this way, so it's going to be easier for tractor trailers to use that. Now, topography is a little bit of an issue here. So we have, this is more of a 90-degree, but I anticipate that the tractor trailers using this entrance. We're also closer to East Forest Avenue as far as where the entrances are located. So, yeah, I imagine a lot of the traffic's going to come from East Forest, and 83 is right there.
Any additional questions?
I have a question. As far as like EDUs, When the township, are pretty much no EDUs available, are you guys already locked in?
Yes, there were EDUs allocated to this site. We have our sewage planning module that was approved. That wouldn't have been approved unless we had our EDUs.
Okay,
Yeah, they actually had EDUs for probably 20 years. Yeah, so they've had them a long, long time. And then the other site actually got theirs through a private sale from the church probably a year or so ago. Yeah.
so that's no question there, that's good to go.
As he mentioned, he has what's called a planning module approval, that's the process the DEP evaluates to make sure that the collection system and the treatment system have agreed to the capacity that he's delivering to them. So that's the way in which that's approved through the state.
Do you have an estimate of how many gallons a day will be going through there, or?
Should? See if I have that.
The thing is, they'll have to work within what number of EDUs that they have. You know, they're not gonna be able to exceed that volume per day, because they'll be billed by Shrewsbury Borough Sewer Authority. And I can tell you that they do track that closely. And if anyone's over, they get penalized, or they have to purchase additional EDUs if they're running available. But this particular property, I believe, is 25? Somewhere, no? Less? No, but I mean, that's how many you have, though, besides that property, correct?
No, I didn't assign that many to this property. I don't think I put more than 10 on it.
Okay. I think the Byrne Township records show different, but we'll have to look at that. Nonetheless, they do have sewer capacity.
Okay.
So I have a couple questions, not, I guess the first, Jeff, would be the same question on this project, which is that, I mean, over a long period of time, I guess we've worked to minimize impact to the best extent that we can, using all the tools that we have,
Correct.
yeah.
And obviously, and I know that most of you all know this, but this has been zoned for this type of use.
Yes.
The one thing, and again, I'll remind us because it's gone over such a long period of time, the township staff hung their hat on the fact that Elm Drive needed to be at a collector status for this development to occur, with the idea that we would collect collector to arterial roads, meaning we don't want to run any of the traffic on Tolna, et cetera. So that's the reason that they're doing improvements to Elm, and that's kind of where we were able to leverage PennDOT into this, because Elm's improvements extend them into 851.
Yeah.
And once they touch 851, then PennDOT got involved. So that was a negotiated position the township took, and I think we've gotten the developer to agree with us on that, and we got to a good place there.
Okay.
But zoning really drove that.
And I guess my only other question is, I don't know a lot about how these things work. Do many people, like, how do warehouse distribution centers work? Can somebody give me like the 5-minute primer? Like, are there trucks 24/7? Are there many companies using that distribution facility? How is that space, is it rented out separately? Is it rented as a whole?
And really good questions, yeah. So, I guess, again, this one is set up that could potentially be 2 different users. And it could be like a distribution where you have like an Amazon. There's a bunch of stuff coming into it. Not that it's gonna be an Amazon.
No, but yeah.
Right, yeah, let's not say that. Dirty word. But yeah, so it could be, yeah, trucks, mobile, you know, it all depends on the
You
users.
said 2 different users.
It could be, yeah.
It couldn't be 100.
No,
It could
No.
be 2.
no, and actually,
I wouldn't even wanna do 2, to be honest with you, because to divide a building this big is extremely expensive.
Okay.
So, if it was 2 for us, and I'm not speaking for Hillwood, they operate slightly differently. We would go to single users. We would direct our marketing to a single user.
Okay.
Yeah.
We would only do a 2-user if we got desperate.
So does single user, and then how many people work in a place like this?
Yeah, so I found how many EDUs we had allocated, so it's 1,400 gallons a day, or 4 EDUs. So, you know, an office employee per DEP is 10 gallons a day, so it wouldn't be more than 140 people here.
Okay.
Yeah, and warehouse employees are 35, so if I did the math quick on that, it's much less.
Okay.
I will say that warehousing and distribution is becoming more automated, you know, it's more high-tech.
Yeah.
So site design, we do surveys for other warehouses around the state, and we do flatness surveys for the robotic instruments, so it's less manpower, more equipment.
Okay.
So, this kind of goes for both developments. Can you give us a ballpark figure for how many trucks you might expect per day?
I would say at least for this one, that would be based on the user. I don't know if you have anything different.
Yeah, you can't even guess. I mean, it's such a broad range. You can get users that, you ever see that warehouse up on 83 that was GameStop? Right in Manchester Township? You never
Was
saw-
Federal Mogul?
You never saw a truck there.
It was Federal Mogul before that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you never see a truck there. And then you go right down the street, and see one of those other warehouses, and it's pretty regular, a couple every hour.
Yeah, I was gonna say to you guys, not to be discouraging, you know more about it than I do naturally, but there was an awful lot of warehouses between Harrisburg and York sitting empty for a long, long time.
Yes.
And the ones that were occupied, they weren't there long and was moved out and someone else moved in. So looks like a little bit of an unstable market. So you guys are sticking your neck out a little bit, huh?
Yeah, we're not gonna build ours, I don't think, it's not on the schedule for 26, so you wouldn't see ours before 27. We're not kind of sell the market, because we've owned the land for a long time. We've seen several different things that we've tried on there. So this is kind of where we are today. But in contrast to truck traffic, I did a FedEx terminal in Manchester, and it's a truck terminal for FedEx. They have hardly any traffic during the day, which I would have never believed. They told me that when we went in there. Their trucking is really, their peak is 7 to 9 in the evening. I mean, it's just all over the place with these outlets. It really is.
And I'll just add that the township, the way we're trying to approach this, because we understand what they're saying here, and my experience has been they're all over the place. And especially when you're building on perspective, which is what Kinsley's doing. Does Hillwood have a tenant yet? No? So it's prospectus. So you can't tell us who it's gonna be. What we do is we ask their traffic engineer to project a maximum traffic load and traffic based on trucks and vehicles, and passenger vehicles, and then we will hold them to those standards. So
Okay.
if we start to see a problem out there, if, based on volume, then we will address that accordingly. So that's kind of the conditions they have to work within in terms of traffic.
Okay.
Now, what I will say is that it is get hard with the GPS routing and some of the truck people that are operating the trucks. I can give you multiple sightings of places where we've had difficulties and we've had to make we've had to address operational problems with the tenant. And in most cases, they want to conform. They want to get their trucks so that they're not becoming a nuisance for the community. I haven't run into a situation yet where if we have a problem because, for example, most of the truck drivers are Spanish and they're routing based on their GPS routing, and it's routing through roads that they shouldn't be on and they're not the most logical, they can address that with their carriers. And I've been able to resolve that. We've had other issues where, because they're stopping them coming in, the guard shack location has created backups onto the public roadways. And again, that's an operational issue. The township can't regulate, but we can regulate from the standpoint of making sure that what they've projected here to us is in fact the reality after operation. So there's a lot of unknowns, and I'm not
Right.
going to sit here and tell you that we can ensure that from day one it's going to be resolved, but I can I can tell you that I believe that we can work with whoever these ultimate tenants are. In Jackson Township, we're dealing with Arm & Hammer, and the truck traffic is enormous. And we were able to work with them to have a zero impact on the community. Amazon is tough sometimes, but.
So do you, if there is an issue like that, do you address it directly with the tenant, or do you address it with the owner of the warehouse? How does that work?
Well, it's really the owner. I don't know how these guys are set up, but sometimes you'll have a owner that stands before you today that isn't gonna be the owner, the ultimate owner. And that's why the land development plans are
Don't you,
recorded.
again, you rent space though to the user. Is that how it works? You lease? You lease it?
So both of you,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
in the case of, for example, Arm & Hammer, we dealt with Arm & Hammer, the company, because they had someone build their warehouse for them, they took possession of that.
Okay.
In this
Well-
case, you have landlords essentially sitting before you.
A lot of these warehouses are built by the developer and then resold
Sure.
to somebody else for a profit.
Okay.
I personally think, as much as I don't wanna see two warehouses in the community, to me, you can't get a better location. It's right off 83, one turn off 83 right onto Elm Drive.
Yeah, you don't have to go through town. or
There's
anything.
no traffic coming through town, so I'm with you, Ben. Hate to see it, but I think this is the best location, and it's needed, I think.
There are facilities in compromised locations where there's, the main route, and
Yep.
then there's a back door that may seem more efficient on Waze or Google Maps. I will say that that's not the case on this site, based on connectivity to the interstate. Like, there's no more direct route than the way that we're doing our offsite improvements and creating a safer condition than what's there today.
I totally agree.
And the other thing I would just say is, it does not make any sense to us to pressure to push a project forward at a time when the leasing velocity isn't there for it to be occupied as quickly as possible. I'm sure you guys can relate. I mean, the construction loans are more expensive. It's a tough time to do business, and we're really strategic about that. So we work with, all the industrial real estate brokers in the area in this whole region to understand what the leasing velocity is before we break ground. And right now, I will say Central Pennsylvania is strong. So you're not in a lull in the market and a lull in your location. It's, we want to move and get this kind of constructed sooner than later. Once we have it approved, it makes sense to move it forward. But we wouldn't do that at a time where, there's a lot of vacancy in the market. It just wouldn't make sense, because it's not good for the township, it's not good for us as a developer to have a vacant facility sitting there as an eyesore. We want it to be operational and make sure that the maintenance is being taken care of. And, it's a good taxable for the township, and just makes good business sense.
Okay, that was super helpful to me. So, and I appreciate everything, Jeff, that you guys have done over a long period of time. So I don't have anything else.
One last thing I think it's worth mentioning. We've asked them to come the same night. We're gonna ask them to come to the same night to the board, because we believe, despite the fact that it's being two independent developers, we have a three-way agreement for the improvements along Elm and 851, meaning two-way with them, and the agreement is guaranteeing the township that these improvements will be done. So while we could separate these two developments, we think it makes sense to look at them and evaluate them as a unit.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that, and
Yeah,
I think
right in the same
I
area.
think it's made it easier for us too to understand exactly what's going on too. Okay.
And so Jeff, I guess from the December 13th letter, is there anything there that?
I
needs
would
to be
ask
met?
you reference that as a condition, just like
Okay.
you did last one.
Yep. Does anybody want to make a motion? You want me to?
I'm happy to make a motion that we recommend approval by the Board of Supervisors, subject to the C.S. Davidson letter dated December 13th, 2024.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then I guess we don't have any new or old business. I don't think there was a pending plan report attached, was there? That's one. Any planning commission comment?
I was just gonna say that Ben and I have been meeting with Todd and others about the short-term rentals, and that has been moving forward nicely, and I think, I don't know, in the next, 2 months,
Probably 2 months.
2 months.
2 to 3 max.
we might have some proposed language on that, and it's been super productive and I think really great.
Thank you.
So we'll look forward to bringing that to the planning commission soon.
Any other comments?
That's it.
All right, no correspondence, so I will make a motion to adjourn the December 18th meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, gentlemen. Todd, we have things to sign back here, yeah?
Yes.